Jayam Ishtipad Paramahamsa Pravacharya Stota. Sloka 39. Etatu adirajasya manos charitam adbhutam varnitam varnahisyasya tadapatyodayam shrinu. I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. Om Aginati Mirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chaksu Udmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Durgame Padimendasya Skapati Gatimaho Swakripa Yustudanina Shanta Shantu Avalambanam. So here we are, marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. So we have just been discussing a lot about Kadama Muni and his great qualities, and we're just about to go into the glories of his bride Devahuti, and we have the last 2 verses here with no purports. It's just like we've been wedged in a little bit here in between Kadama Muni and Devahuti. So the way out here is Swayambhuva Manu. So in reply to questions asked by certain sages, he's Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general in different varnas and ashrams. And it just so happens I just finished writing some notes about this, and while I was putting it in a bag, my notes got obliterated, so I don't have any notes. So as usual, I have a few details, so we'll just discuss these. Maybe somebody's got any comments or questions or corrections, they can correct me as we go along. But we want to discuss Swayambhuva Manu. He's described as the father of mankind. So Swayambhuva means the first. So just to, I'm sure everybody's heard this before, that we're in this universe which is created by Lord Brahma, and he lives a very, very long time, 100 years. But we are talking about this one particular day of Lord Brahma. And in this day of Lord Brahma, he's said to be about halfway through his lifespan, his 50 years, and this happens to be sort of like first day, right? But his day is 1,000 of our cycles. As we know, there's 4 cycles of yuga, just to be sort of to simply put it, first cycle is the golden age, the second cycle is the silver age, the third cycle is the bronze age. And someone from the Krishna pad, can they tell me what the 4th cycle is? Copper? Iron. Yeah, okay. Iron Age. So altogether these ages add up to 4,320,000 years. That's one cycle of ages. So you multiply that by 1,000 and you get 12 hours of Lord Brahma. And then there's 12 hours of daytime and there's 12 hours of nighttime. So in these 12 hours of daytime, he's split it up into different cycles of Manus, father of mankind. Only Lord Brahma Lord Brahma's, he's governing for that whole day. He's in charge of the universe for the day, but he's got these administrators, and there's 14 of them in his one day. So that boils down to basically 71 cycles of yugas each, in which the Manus are in control. And Along with the Manus, they bring all the other Devatas like King Indra and Chandra, the moon god, Vayu, the wind god, and all the other sort of principal demigods, Indra. And these demigods, along with Manu, rule for 71 yugas, okay, 71 cycles. And that in itself is quite a long time. So Swayambhuva Manu was the first one. So when Lord Brahma created again, after his day, he goes to sleep, and then the whole creation is inundated, and everything except Brahmaloka is underwater. It either gets burnt up or both, underwater gets burnt up. And then in the beginning of Lord Brahma's day, he begins to create. And it is said that it takes one age of Satyayuga to actually recreate everything to make it livable for all the living entities. And when that happens, then Lord Brahma, out of his mind, he generates the first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. So the function of this Manu is to procreate the universe and to establish order within the universe. So I had my notes here that Swayambhuva Manu, from memory, had 5 children. He had 2 sons. One was Priyavrata, famous son who's described amply in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what we have here is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is one of the Puranas. So the Puranas actually deal from the beginning of the day of Lord Brahma with Swayambhuva Manu, and they go through all these different successions, all the different Manus and different incarnations of Lord that came throughout all these days of all these different cycles. And the Bhagavad Purana, as the Srimad Bhagavatam, is like the cream, and it discusses a lot of these personalities that were there right in the beginning of Swayambhuva Manu's time. So one of his sons, Priyavrata, he is absolutely famous because he was a great ruler. He actually took over from Swayambhuva Manu, who retired from ruling the universe, but he was still the Manu. So at that point in time, when he retired, he wrote so many different things down, and one of the major treatises that he wrote was, of course, the Manu Samhita. And that was the instruction for all the different generations of devotees to abide by and how to live in this material world and go back to Godhead. So that's the Manu Samhita. That's right in the beginning. It is a very, very big book, and it's got so many details in it. Throughout the course of time, a lot of these details have sort of been lost, and it's shrunk down. It used to be like 1,080 chapters and 200,000 verses. Now it's shrunk down a bit. But in context of things, it's sometimes relevant for different ages, and sometimes it isn't. So we'll discuss that a little bit later. So Priyavrata, he was one of the sons of Manu, and when he took over the universe, he ruled the universe, and he famously did one thing. Manibandha, can you explain how he did it, what he did? He got this amazing chariot, right? And he had one wheel centered, just centered like in the middle, and with his other wheels he created all these grooves in the universe, and he set up this whole flat planetary system where we're just a part of Jambudweep, and then there's all these other different planets and oceans that sort of span like 2 billion miles of the universe. So, a great soul. So that was one son. The other son was King Uttanapada. We're just about to get to him. He's a really amazing king too, because he's actually famous not well, he's famous for being a great king, but first of all, he's famous for actually sort of succumbing to the temptations of the material world and falling into the trap that kings fall into, enjoying life to the fullest. And it was, but he had so much, that's Uttanapad, isn't it? The Puranjana. Yeah, so before that, King Uttanapad also had a very, very famous son who's glorified throughout the universe, and his name was Dhruva Maharaj. So the fourth canto is a lot about Dhruva Maharaj, how he got rejected by his stepmother, who was the principal queen of King Uttanapad, and she said he can't sit on the lap, and being a Kshatriya, lap of the king being a Kshatriya, he became so angry and upset at the age of 5. He started to perform all these amazing austerities in the forest, and then Narad Muni instructed him, gave him instructions on the process of yoga, and eventually he performed so many austerities that Lord Vishnu was obliged to see him and have those famous words that when he saw Lord Vishnu, he said, I wanted a kingdom greater than that of my fathers, but now having seen you, I realized that all I was desiring was pieces of broken glass. So then King Uttanapad later on gets instructions from Narad Muni, this beautiful allegorical story. Was it in 6th canto, I believe? 4th canto, yeah. So about a city of 9 gates. Very subtle instructions to the king how the 9 gates, when they're out of control, they can lead to the destruction of the body. I remember once, this is our connection with Srila Prabhupada, people used to say to me that, you know, what contact have you had? That's what people always say to us. Did you see Srila Prabhupada? Did you talk with Srila Prabhupada? What association did you have with Srila Prabhupada? Well, not many of us did have that personal association with Srila Prabhupada because Srila Prabhupada was too busy writing books. He didn't have time to do anything else except record all these books for the benefit of the rest of Kali Yuga, at least for the next 10,000 years. But where we did get the association, we'd be out in the streets, and I remember being in some town like Narandara, in the middle of nowhere, on the Newell Highway, you know, and I'd be standing there and we'd pull out a box of books, and we used to get all these new books, these Bhagavatams, and I remember getting that canto with the story of King Puranjana in it, and we'd go out on the street, excuse me, sir, you know, I just want to show you something really interesting about our yoga or whatever, and then I'd open up the book and tell them the allegorical story of King Puranjana. This story is about the city of the 9 gates, you know, and that pertains to our personal, you know, journey and our senses, and they go, yeah, I'll take the book, you know, take a big Bhagavatam. That used to be my favourite book. So that was my connection with Srila Prabhupada, you know, that Srila Prabhupada was personally instructing us there through his books. He'd be writing them. He'd only written them a couple of months ago. They'd be printed, and here we have it. So this personal instruction, of course, is always there for us to, it hasn't finished. Srila Prabhupada is personally instructing us in his books, these wonderful books. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, got so many different stories about the great sages, the saints, the demigods, and terrible, horrible demons who meet their subsequent destruction. So, of course, hearing about this, it is said that actually just simply by hearing it, one becomes purified from all their sinful activities, and their path back to Godhead is assured. Almost happens every day by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So anyway, we're a Swayambhuva Manu. So he was the first Manu. So it's said that after the first Manu, after 71 cycles of yugas, there is a changeover. Sometimes it is said there's a partial annihilation of all the middle planetary systems. At other places it's said that it's not necessarily that it does happen. So whatever, there is an interchange and the next Manu comes along. So after Swayambhuva Manu, we had the second Manu, we had the third Manu, which happened to be Priyavrata. He became a Manu. Two of Swayambhuva's sons actually became Manus, and the fifth one. And I was talking about Uttanapad, Priyavrata and Swayambhuva Manu also had 3 daughters in the beginning. So we'll go back to the daughters before we go through all the Manus. And the other 3 daughters was Akuti, who married a great sage, Prashuti, who married Prajapati Daksha. So this is where all the progenitor, it all started. Daksha is actually a position. So it may not necessarily be the Daksha that got beheaded by Lord Shiva, or maybe it was, I don't know. But Daksha means progenitor. So then he gave one of his daughters to Daksha, Prashuti. And then, of course, the third daughter is Devahuti. So we're just about to hear about Devahuti in the next chapter. So then subsequently, the cycle of Manus, we just keep going with the Manus, because I want to talk about Swayambhu and I want to talk about the current Manu. So the third and the fifth Manu, they were actually Swayambhuva Manu's sons. So, and we understand that after the Manus finish their reign, they depart for Mahaloka, or they go back to Godhead. If they go to Mahaloka, then they progress from Mahaloka on their spiritual path and go back to Godhead. So we are in the 7th Manu now, there's 14th Manus. It's said that we're halfway through this cycle day of Lord Brahma, but to understand how the 7th Manu come about, there's a fantastic story which starts in the reign of the 6th Manu. And the 6th Manu's name was Chakshusa. And so we go right to the end of Chakshusa's reign. It's his 71st cycle of yugas. It's quite interesting, actually. We were discussing succession on the weekend, in a few years, there's going to be, I'm going to get old, I'm going to retire, we need a succession plan. I won't say who said it, but, this was going on. So we talk about 5 years. Here we're talking about the cycle of Manu, and we're talking about the succession plan there, which is sort of potato like cycles of yugas, 4,320,000 years. I only got a couple of yugas left, So in the 71st yuga, there was this really auspicious king by the name of King Satyavrata. And he was performing austerities right there, right at the end of the 71st, probably through Kali, maybe even, other yugas. He was a very austere king who only drank water in the end. So one day he was sitting by a river and he wanted to sip some water. This is King Satyavrata. He just retired from his kingdom, and I don't know if he'd retired from his kingdom. He performed great austerities, though it doesn't say whether he retired from his kingdom or not, but he was about to sip water. There's a little fish in his hand. He looked at it and he threw it back in. And then the fish said, "Why are you throwing me back in? I want some protection from you because all these other big fish are going to eat me." He goes, "Really?" So he picked the fish up and he put the fish in a pot of water. And he took the fish home to his palace or his ashram where he was staying. And overnight the fish just outgrew the pot. He said, "I'm so squashed in this pot, can't you give me something bigger?" So then he got the fish and he threw it in a well, right? And within the end of the day, the fish had sort of got too big for the well, said, "I'm so cramped, give me some water, give me some bigger reservoir of water." So he put the fish in the river. how mystic potencies, and then the fish all of a sudden got so big they got wedged in the river. Can you give me something else? So then he got the fish and he put the fish in a reservoir of water. And before he knew it, the fish had outgrown a reservoir of water, and he was saying, I need a bigger body of water. So obviously by his mystic potency, he placed the fish in the sea, and he said, who are you? Never ever seen a fish do that ever in my life. You must be Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has come in the form of the fish to give us blessings, to give blessings to all of us, unfortunate living entities living in this material universe. And the fish said, indeed I am, and I've come to deliver you, that in 7 days there is going to be an inundation, because it was the end of the cycle of Chakshas Manu, and in that particular cycle there was an inundation. He said the 3 planetary systems, Bhubhuva and Svaloka, are all going to be inundated. So therefore, on the 7th day, I will send a boat for you, and you can board the boat along with the rishis, the 7 sages, gather all the herbs and spices, and also other living entities, and put them on the boat, and I will protect you. I will be there, and because the waters are so rough and, water's devastation, I will tie the serpent Vasuki to my bow, to the bow of the boat, and I'll pull you with that rope of Vasuki. So Vasuki features quite a bit. That great serpent Vasuki also features in the 8th canto. So, and he said the boat will be illuminated, because everything's dark. It's the water's devastation, and the boat's going to be illuminated by the rishis, those 7 sages that will light up your boat. So, true to his word, on the 7th day, all the waters, the rain started to rain, and the whole planet was inundated, and then this boat came along. And Satyavrata Muni, he gathered the rishis and gathered the spices and all other living entities. This is where a lot of people say there's a similarity between this story and Noah in the Bible, right? And then they proceeded to live out those waters, the inundation. So the inundation, as Prabhupada describes it, it's not like the devastation that comes at the end of Lord Brahma's day because he sleeps for 12 hours. But Prabhupada just said that Lord Brahma just had a nap. He just closed his eyes, and then everything went dark, and we had this water inundation. And then when the inundation finished, we were in the 7th age, right, of Manu. So at that point in time, Satyavrata Muni, when he found land and shelter, said that he left his body and took birth again as a son of the sun god, right, Vivasvam. And then he was awarded the position of Manu. He became Vaivasvatu Manu. So then we have that disciplic knowledge that is there, that is passed from Manu, because his father of mankind is all knowing, and Krishna describes in the 4th canto, 2nd verse, what is it? Sri Bhagavan Praptave, you come. Say it, please. Imam Vivasvate Yogam. Thank you very much. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said that this blessed science was instructed by me to Vivasvan, the sun god, who instructed it to Manu, our particular Manu, Vaivasvatu Manu, and then Manu instructed to his son Ikshvaku, and then in the next verse it states that Ikshvaku instructed to others a chain of disciplic succession, but in due course of time the succession was broken, And this is why I am here to describe the science of Bhagavad Gita to you, because you're my you're my friend and great devotee. So he's instructing Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So therefore, Vasusrestha Manu, we're in the 7th Manu now, and he has all the knowledge, and it's his duty and function now to procreate the universe, which he did. And so we're going through this cycle now of Vasusrestha Manu, and right now, at this very point in time, we're in the 28th cycle, right, of Vasusrestha, 7th Manu. And it's a very, very auspicious cycle, because only in this cycle of all the Manus, 14 Manus, Krishna comes, right at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So the other 13 Manus miss out, right? They have the Manu Samhita, they have all the different Vedas, and this is where we have that sloka here, 38, questions by certain sages. Manu, out of compassion for living entities, taught the sacred duties, men in general, in different varnas and ashrams. So that is the basis of all the knowledge that was there by Manu. But then we have all the different Vedas that have been passed on, because actually Lord Brahma, he passed the Vedas down to Swayambhuva Manu from the last day. And there was a bit of a kerfuffle going on there too. It's a really interesting story. I don't want to confuse people's minds, but that's where another incarnation of the Lord came to actually help Brahma keep the Vedas, because he nearly lost them. Because he said that Lord Brahma was very tired, he wasn't paying attention, he yawned, and these 2 demons called Ketava came and they took the Vedas away. They were personified Vedas. There's beautiful pictures of these Vedas sort of being snatched away by these demons, who actually didn't want the human civilization to follow the Vedas. They wanted irreligion. They didn't want any religion at all. And we can relate to that here in this present day and age, isn't it? There's so many people that are like that. The religion is the opiate of all the masses. Now, once we get religion, then we get rid of all the id consciousness and bad consciousness we have. We'll be able to live freely. That's the catch cry of the demons. So the Lord had to appear, and there's 2 different versions here. That's why he appeared. Some say he appeared as a fish incarnation, another fish incarnation. And there is another instance where he appeared as Hayagriva, this beautiful horse incarnation. He dispatched the demons and he brought the Vedas back. The Lord Brahma gave it back to him. Well, actually, it is said that he kept the Vedas through that time where Lord Brahma was sleeping. And then at the beginning of Brahma's day, he said, yeah, here's the Vedas back, give it to Swayambhuva Manu. This is in the Bhagavatam. So then, of course, Swayambhuva Manu had the Vedas, and he wrote the Manu Samhita, and it just talks about the different orders, the varnas and the ashrams. We have discussed them quite elaborately in our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam here. It's a very, very wide topic, which I don't want to sort of get into too much in case we can't get out of it again. But the Manu Samhita right now at this point in time, even though it is available, it has shrunk down a lot. It's not the, huge voluminous treatise that was spoken by Swayambhuva Manu, but still, sometimes it is relevant and sometimes it's not, according to the different ages. So the varnas and the ashrams, just like the 4 varnas, the 4 orders of life did not exist. The Kshatriya, the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra, they really didn't exist in such a yuga, because in such a yuga everybody was pretty well Krishna conscious and you didn't need these systems of orders. So somewhere after such a yuga, it had to begin in Treta Yuga, where there was division and there was one of the good qualities of austerity, mercy, cleanliness and honesty started to shrink down. Maybe they all shrunk down together, or maybe just one of the qualities was diminished, so then they had to set up the system, the Chaturvarna ashram system. So this is where it began, with all the different kings, and then of course it was very strictly observed in Dwapara Yuga, and that's what the whole battle was about, Kurukshetra, the battle for religious principles. But also at that time, nearly all the Kshatriyas in the world were destroyed, and then when we came into Kali Yuga, the principles of religion had just shrunk down to 25%. And gradually over this 5,000 years that we've been into Kali Yuga, that this Varna ashram system has just really become a very diluted form of government, and it had so many flaws in it that it's been overridden by a different system, which is sort of based really on the modes of material nature. And the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas are the ones who are supposed to actually guide the society beyond the modes of material nature on the path to liberation. This is where we have that system of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, religiosity, economic development, enjoyment, sense gratification, liberation. But when the Brahmanas are polluted and they are no longer able to deliver the knowledge of body and soul as Atma, as opposed to overcoming the modes of material nature, then the moksha is lost. The moksha is completely eclipsed. So the persons who are in the society, usually if the king is ruling the society under the instructions of the Brahmanas, then the whole society goes forward. So this is the process. This is what Lord describes in the 3rd chapter. Krishna, in the 10th verse, he said, in the beginning, the Lord of all creatures created men and demigods and yajna, that process of sacrifice where the sacrifice of demigods to the Supreme Lord, then all the living entities, everything that is needed for living entities is available, as well as the process for liberation. Now that is the difference between the revised Bhagavad Gita and the old Bhagavad Gita, because in the new Bhagavad Gita it describes the process of liberation in that translation, and that is a very, very important point. So that is that is like Dharma, Artha and Kama and Moksha. So in this present society where we don't have that situation, we just have economic development, sense gratification, so we don't have liberation. So we have a big job to do. This is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us the method of self-realization of this age. And it's a very, very simple method, just simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And it's never been available before. And of course, Lord Chaitanya, he's come after Krishna and he's given us Krishna. Without Lord Chaitanya, it's like we would not have had Krishna, we would not have had Radharani, we would not have the higher stages of self-realization, the love of Godhead. So we're in this situation right now, which is in Kali Yuga, 28th cycle Kali Yuga, but we have this wonderful opportunity. It's like a portal to actually escape the stringent modes of the material energy. Just Krishna explains in the 2nd chapter that, previously all the Vedas that were there in the Manu Samhita mainly dealt with the 3 modes of material nature, how to control your mind within these situations and progress to the higher realms and gradually go back to Godhead through this process. But here, in this process of Krishna consciousness, we can just go back in this one lifetime through the chanting the holy names of the Lord. And I must say that by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is another process where it says that anyone hears these wonderful stories about the Lord, and the devotees will become purified from all sinful reactions, and it is stated in so many places, and liberation is available for these persons to hear these wonderful stories just by hearing. So just about, has anybody got a little bit of time? If anybody wants to make some comments or ask questions, corrections? King Prashibani, you're right, yeah. Sorry, I got that mixed up. So yeah, that was a different one. He's also a grandson of Lord Brahma, though, or Swayambhuva Manu. He's related to them, so I got them mixed up. Thank you very much. So Uttanapad was the son of Swayambhuva Manu, and maybe Prachibani, he was the son of Uttanapad. Is that right? Or somewhere along the line? Yeah, it's connected. Any other corrections, comments? Yes? Something? All good? Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.